Hey, welcome back to Thrust. We're just doing a follow-up on this bull bar for the Forerunner here. Again, just to refresh your memories, I bought this thing off of Amazon and had it shipped in a few days, and so far the build is gotten up to this point where I've assembled the bar and I'm looking at what it's going to take to actually mount it onto the truck. But I do want to go over a couple things about the construction that was interesting. Here's my workbench here, and here's the only tools that I needed other than for what I'm going to need for the big bolts. I'll need a ratchet and a wrench for that. But those are the only two tools to put the thing together all the way to the point where it is right now, where it's ready to just hang on to the truck. There's some brackets there that this is what I got to figure out, this interface with these bolts onto the frame of that truck. What it looks like on my truck is I'm going to have to cut it. I'll show you the back of that in a minute, but I'm kind of at that point where I'm a little hesitant to start cutting into the truck yet because I'm not sure exactly how this is going to go. As far as the brand, I've been struggling for a few days to figure out what it is. Apparently it's a VJ brand, and these are the components again. And then I noticed in the instructions, which are ultra simplified, that step one here is to remove the original factory guard bar. Well, that includes a lot more than just a bar, and it's not just plastic. There's a bumper underneath there, so if you can kind of see, the whole front here seems to have been cut out of that front bumper. If it is one piece, you have to cut it right there, and then you can expose the radiators back there. But more importantly, the frame points where this thing mounts are here. And it's funny, the brackets are actually made just the same way they are on here. And it does mount up to an existing frame bracket that has 3 bolts through the middle of it. And so this whole thing is cut to go onto that bracket. And it just kind of, it pinches together around that frame bracket, and then you torque the bolts and it's held up there, you know. A couple questions about whether, you know, just 2 bolts back there holding it in a horizontal plane are enough to hold up this 200 pounds that's on this thing. But I don't know. The thing here that became obvious to me was there was no way that this thing was going to fit without removing this center section of the bumper. So where and how much and how far does it have to go? See, this is how it mounts. This is how it will look on the front of the truck. And then these horizontal mounts here bump up against the frame that's in there. So not only is it going to be difficult holding it up there to mount it with just those 4 bolts, but it's just, again, obvious that the center section of this bumper has to come out of here. And it looks like if I got this lined up as close as I possibly can, it actually looks like I'm going to lose the entire grill here. This grill, everything below that white bar is going to end up having to go anyway. So faced with that, I'm just really not sure that I want to start cutting into this right away. For certainly the time I have available, I can hack through this and get through it in 2 or 3 days and do it slowly and try to make it look good. But I don't have a couple days. I've got a personal trip. So this job is just going to sit where it is right now. But I think it does look pretty good, and I think it'll also complement the truck very well. Specifically, going back to a couple of things, I ended up changing this hardware to black colored hardware so it didn't stick out so much. And then there's a good picture of the winch platform there. I mean, that looks like that'll take a standard winch real easy. So then there's wiring that has to happen. These fog lights here have 12-inch leads on them, and then this light bar, it's got about 18 inches on it, and I don't know. I don't want to get into that and start making stuff up. I'd rather have the winch and then have somebody just kind of put it all on together. But cutting, I got to get around my brain right now that I have to cut this frame, this bumper. It's only plastic. It could be replaced. But once you cut it, it's gone. So that the measurements here are very important in figuring out how this thing was made up. It kind of looks like this angle here is matched do this angle here, so they expect that this is going to fit up against there, which means that can be left. And I just honestly think it's just an easy cut right down that line, right down that seam on both sides, and then disconnect this lower grill, because I don't think it's going to stay. It'd be nice to leave it there, but may not be good for airflow either, because if you look at what I did to my dually here, and I put this thing on the front of this thing, it does nothing but block the airflow to the radiator. So this thing kind of started running a little hot for a while. I ended up putting a 10 degree hotter thermostat in it. And it seems to run fine, but you know, it's not a consideration is the thing. So best here, you know, if I get away with this, I'm going to get away with it $1,000 cheaper than anything that I just went to some custom shop to have them put on. And also, I just don't want to have to need the truck for like 5 days when I do this, because I'm not going to want to drive around with a big hole in the front of it and the bumper's gone. So we just have to see how that works out. But yeah, that's what I'm down. I'm down to these brackets. These brackets, interesting. They got holes in them up here, and there's some line coming off the radiator. It seems that it might be close to fitting through there if I wanted to disconnect the line, which I really don't want to do. So I think what I'm going to do is just grind off this whole corner down to where that line will still be behind the bracket, but there's still material behind there to hold this strong to the frame, and just kind of get rid of all this, and then that line will naturally fit in there, and it'll have a lot of clearance. That's another thing. I don't want a hard line going through something that might end up flexing if it hits a tree or getting winched or whatever. So that's a valid point on these, is that there is going to be some customization, but from everything I can tell, it looks like it'll fit pretty good. Again, I just don't want to cut right now. I don't want to cut today, but you know, truck is worth it. And so this first part of the overland build here, I got the tent already slung up in the garage here. You can see it up there, so you can just drive in underneath it with the truck, drop it down on it, and drive it out of here. So it's a guerrilla system, but it's smart in terms of minimum amount of effort expended every time you mount the tent. So, all right, well, that's all I got for you. When I attempt to get this on the truck, I'll take you through the cut and the fit, and let you know any problems that I have. But right now, I'm liking what's going on. All right, take care. Bye.